All right. My last book that I will be reviewing is The Trans Guide to Mental Health and Wellbeing by Katie Lees. Katie Lees is a queer, non binary author and psychotherapist from the northeast of England. They got their start writing fiction and nonfiction for online journals while also studying for their MSc in person centered and experiential psychotherapy. This empowering self help guide provides advice and strategies for trans and non binary people on a range of common mental health issues, including anxiety, depression, body image, trauma, suicidal thoughts, and disassociation. It provides advice on neutralizing negative thoughts, coping with transphobia, coming out, dealing with imposter syndrome, and implementing achievable self care strategies and mindfulness techniques. I thought this one passage from the introduction sums up the spirit of the book. Katie writes, like 40% of non binary people, I've experienced a long term mental health issue and have used mental health services like 66% of all trans people. I've made use of public, private, government funded, and NHS services. The trauma that contributed to my period of acute emotional distress was often related to my internally felt and externally perceived queerness, leading to an adult diagnosis of anxiety, depression, complex post traumatic disorder, with all the accompanying panic attacks, insomnia, dissociation, disordered eating, chronic fatigue, hypervigilance, executive dysfunction, and generally terrible times that tend to go with these things. One of the reasons I feel so much better now is that I am in a safe space where I can express my queerness and my gender will be met with joy and understanding from the people around me, something I have seen repeated in my clients again and again. Transgender people like me are often going through mental ill health. 84% of trans people have experienced suicidal ideation, for example, with 55% diagnosed with depression. This should be no surprise when people try to understand and express who they are in a globally hostile environment while also experiencing discomfort with how they are perceived by themselves and others. It's no wonder that this can lead to experiences of prolonged sadness, hopelessness, and anxiety, and any other feelings associated with a long standing trauma. Even though I have recovered from my breakdown, recovery is a process that I am still engaged in and learning about, especially as I find new ways to express my gender identity and new understandings of what that means in the world around me. Healing, as they say, is not linear. I've discussed my gender identity with my fair share of therapists, and those interactions have pushed me to understand what a person such as myself might need to work towards. I think one of the strengths of this book is that it's very accessible. It's written in kind of a friendly conversational tone, and it's also well organized. Um, it's broken down into 9 sections with a further reading and resource guide, which, as a librarian, I thought was very valuable. One of the strengths of the books is that it doesn't need to be read cover to cover. Each section is a thorough exploration of one topic, including self harm, trauma, depression, self care, anxiety, body image, and suicidal ideation. One of the things that it talks about is also self care. And I thought they had a really refreshing take here because a lot of the times self care is just buying yourself whatever you want, indulging in the cookie, but it really focused on not doing that kind of bypassing and really focusing on yourself and your own needs. I would recommend this book both to trans and non binary people who either want to read it as a standalone or dip into it for support and ideas when they're struggling. And I would also suggest it as an insight to some of the issues they face. In that vein, it may also be very useful for friends, families, and partners of trans and non binary people, with the caveat, of course, that not everybody faces all the same struggles. Whether you are in a crisis or just looking for ways to improve your life, this reassuring guide is there for you in the way that it helps the most, regardless of where you are in your transition or if you decide not to transition in conventional ways. Combining therapeutic expertise along with first-hand experience, the book also highlights the importance of understanding and being proud of who you are to help you live your life to the fullest. Thanks.